Hello, my name is Ideba Edwele, a staff of Basic Right Council Initiative, and this is a production Basic Right Council Initiative is doing to commemorate the 16 days of activism to end violence against women and girls. We will be heading up to the street and meeting up with notable personalities in Calabar to ask them tough questions pertaining to violence against women and girls. Questions involving: what would you do if you were in a position of power and someone you know, a relative, is accused of rape, amongst many other questions? Join us. Please, what do you understand by violence against women and girls?
Violence against women and girls, in the aspect of girls, what I understand, number one is rape. Why they rape girls? The boys rape girls on the street, and some of them will get pregnant without attention, and fighting, abusing. Sometimes we fight even on the street, abuse and say, oh, what not, that was not supposed to be. And in the case of women, some of the husbands has not been taking their responsibility, and because of that, women are useless. In fact, the men are useless in their wives in the house. They don't take their responsibility, and by so doing, sometimes some women goes out, and because of the anger, they goes out fighting and disgracing themselves outside, do what they were not supposed to do.
What do you understand by violence against women and girls?
It's when you maltreat people, maltreat them, beat them up, and so on. That's my understanding.
Okay. I have a question for you. If you were in a position of power and a relative or someone you know was accused of rape, what would you do?
Rape?
Yes.
It's to follow the law. It's to follow the process and ensure that justice is done. Whether I'm in position of authority or not, that's the thing that should be done. You don't have to be in position of authority to do that. If somebody is raped, you follow the process. You report to the police, get your facts, and then the person is prosecuted. You don't need to be in authority to do that.
Please, would you mind explaining or enlightening the public on what you understand by violence against women and girls?
Everybody, there is nobody who will know what that is. It's when you are aggressive, you do the things you ought not to do, to the opposite. But in this case, you are concentrating on women.
What's your opinion about people who go extra miles to intercede and try to cover up crimes, cover up the perpetrators of violence against women and girls, or rape?
It is very wrong for anyone to try to cover any crime, no matter how simple the crime looked like. It is wrong, and it has to be condemned in strong terms that no one should cover up for any crime at all.
Okay, what about people who use their position of power to influence cases, especially when it relates to their relative or friends or people they know?
There should be no justification at all for anyone to say it's my cousin that is involved, my relative that is involved. Is wrong.
Please, can you tell us or share with us what you understand by violence against women and girls?
What I think is violence against women and girls is when a girl is being used outside her consent. That's what I think is violence against women and girls.
Okay. And then the perpetrators of this violence against women and girls that rape women, beat them, physical abuse and the rest, if you had the power, what can you do to prevent influential persons from getting away with these crimes?
What I think I would do is those people should be arrested and punished for the crime, because it's really bad to use somebody outside her consent, so they should be punished for that.
if you were in a position of power and then someone you know or a relative is accused of rape, what would you do?
Thank you very much. The best thing to do is to try to inquire into the accusation, being that it can be true, it can also be falsified. So I think the first thing I would do is to try to find out whether or not that relative of mine is or has actually committed the crime. On the other hand, if assuming the accusation is positive, that means he actually perpetrated such a crime, well, it is not expected that I should see something that is evil and then cover it up. Yes, because by so doing, I would be, by the time the law will catch up with myself, trying to cover up the crime of my relative, I will be treated as an accomplice. So the best thing to do is to expose the evil so that the right can be done.
What advice can you give to survivors of rape, survivors of violence against women who are yet to get justice? What can you advise them?
I will advise them to endure what they have seen. Life is not all you see that day. Tomorrow may be better than that day. Whatsoever you see that day, you just take it in good faith and go ahead. And that is not the end of their life. And they should make sure their relatives or caregivers should take them to the hospital for checkup in case of any disease.
Okay. And we see in the society every day that some influential persons get away with this crime. Very powerful persons, rich people, they get away with rape. So if you had the power, what can you do? Or what would you do to prevent influential persons like this from getting away with those crimes?
I will make sure I keep security. And they should make sure that whatsoever happened, they should report it. They should not hide it.
If you're in a position of power and then someone you know, a relative or a friend, is accused of rape, what would you do?
Okay, if I'm in power, then a relative of mine is accused of rape. Well, as a person in power, what I will do is that I will make sure that investigations are being carried out. Because rape case now in Nigeria is a very, very serious offense that is punishable by the law. So I will make sure I don't cover the person just because the person is a relative of mine or maybe is a friend of mine. You know, the stigma that follows those who are being raped is very, very bad. So it is very bad if somebody is being raped and then we know who the perpetrator of this crime is, yet we keep the person covered. When we do this, we hide the crime and then we increase the rate of the crime. Because if people are being punished for committing this offense and the public will be aware of it, then corrections will be taken. Those outside will not want to do something like that also. And if I'm in power, what I'll do is that I will make sure that there are procedures that are being followed. Police will investigate the crime and then we will make sure that the person is brought to book. Yes, the person must be brought to book so that justice will prevail.
What do you think about people who cover up for perpetrators of violence against women and girls? People who cover up for rape?
Well, I would say they don't actually know the needs of being protective. Because if you're trying to cover up something, that means you're admitting the worst to come. Because if you stop it at the moment, it's not come again. And if you threaten them of not doing it again, I think it's going to stop. But if you keep on covering it, our society will be at risk and will not be safe, more especially the female ones.
Yeah.
Charles, what do you understand by violence against women and girls?
Well, for me, what I understand about violence against girls, most especially, it's let's say when the male actually, abuses a female, let's say by rape or other means, and probably think of getting away with it because they think they're like the superior and all that kind of stuff like that. Maybe if they're at a higher level and think they can get away with it without the government getting to interrupt them and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you. That was a beautiful take. So, if you're in a position of power, what can you do differently to prevent influential persons from getting away with this crime? Because most time we see in the society that very influential persons are the perpetrators of this crime. So, what would you do to prevent them from getting away with it?
Well, for me, like other days, like in fact, every day, I get to hear on the news and probably on TV so that one way or the other, a male gets to abuse a female, rapes a very tender age child and stuff like that, because it's not nice. It's not supposed to be natural. It's not supposed to be that way. But if I have the power, personally, for what I'll do is I'll make sure I follow up the case and make sure he comes to justice.